Hello, and welcome to Star Wars Minute. It's your daily podcast where we analyze, scrutinize, and celebrate the rise of Skywalker 1 minute at a time. I'm Alex Robinson from alexrobinson.fun.
I'm Pete the Retailer from PeteTheRetailer.com.
And I'm Kelly Anneken. You can see photos of my meals and my mentally ill dog on Instagram. Just search Kelly Anneken.
Welcome back, Kelly, closing out the week with us.
What a week. Honestly, best week I've had in a long time. Gonna be honest with you guys.
Wow.
Best week of Star Wars minutes.
That sounded kind of like threatening, almost. Like, oh, this has been the best week, so you better not mess it up now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Week's not over yet, boys.
Yeah, we got 20% in the can here, so it's, not in the can. Out of the can? I don't know.
Yeah, we have 80% in the can.
There you go.
Yeah.
20% of the can has yet to be captured. This metaphor has really gone kind of like a can of snakes.
See?
So let's just...
And the week was going so well, too.
Well, let's see.
Once again, I spoke too soon.
Let's see what we can
The
do
podcaster's curse.
with minute 65. And hopefully we can pull this thing out. Minute 65 starts with Reylo circling each other in a slow cosmic dance. And it ends a minute later with Rey. Ends a minute later with Rey looking down on the citizens of Kijimi.
Wait, is she? Is that what she sees at the window?
Isn't
At
the ship
airlock there?
Yeah, isn't the ship right above Kijimi because they were
I
pretty
don't
sure
know.
it's Kijimi.
I just saw
underneath it.
I thought it was like space outside, but can you still see Kijimi?
I thought it was a city.
Okay. I believe you.
I don't remember, so I cannot be helpful in any way.
We'll find out tomorrow.
I totally spaced on the end of this minute.
See, space.
All spaced.
Kelly's on my side with this one.
One thing stormtroopers from time immemorial have been taught is if you see someone in a black cape confronting someone, stand back, not your fight.
Right.
Just back the F off.
Above your pay grade.
Yeah.
This is not how you climb the ranks of Sith adjacent officership.
Yes.
Yeah. What?
The only time you should intervene is if you've been planning to kill the Sith apprentice and you have an opening during this battle.
Yeah.
Could you, like, let's say Rey killed Kylo Ren.
Rey killed Kylo Ren.
Could then somebody else who wanted to be the Sith apprentice be like, oh, dibs. Like, I didn't do it, but I was controlling her through the Force. Ooh.
I'm not sure because I guess Kylo Ren is Sheev's apprentice now? Or are they just like partners?
Yeah, I mean that was the impression I got, and then later when Richard E. Grant is talking to him, the implication is that he would then become the apprentice. So, look again. This is the problem with just having two of you.
Yeah,
Right.
I would assume the master would have to have some say in it. Like anyone couldn't just,
Well, like, does he have a chain of succession kind of outline? Does he have in case of emergency?
Yeah.
Arbeck the Sith chimp is my
Break glass.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and I also, because the other implication though is I guess he's very vocal in this movie, Kylo Ren, about I don't want to do it the old ways. Like, we're getting rid of the dark side, we're getting rid of the light side. It's just you and me, Rey, charting our own path. But at least earlier, it seemed like he wanted her to be his Sith apprentice, right? Or was it always going to be like a employee-owned collective in the dark side?
Now you're selling me on it. It does. Yeah, it does seem like. Yeah.
They keep the First Order mental health services. Throw in dental.
Right.
Dental.
Tell me more.
Do people
what
still
are the
need
hours?
glasses?
Wasn't there some introduction of glasses? Oh no, there was an introduction of braces. Did we ever see glasses?
In The Mandalorian, the science nerd wears glasses.
Oh, right. Right. Dr. Pershing has glasses.
Yeah.
But they're real glasses. They're not like statement glasses.
Unknown. I mean, they're definitely fashionable, but we don't know. We've never seen him like crawling around Velma style because he couldn't find his glasses, So.
Okay. It sounds like I have to go back on Wikipedia after this.
As do we all.
Gonna learn a whole bunch of stuff against my will that I enjoy very much. Every time I go on Wikipedia, I'm like, they did what? The whole time?
So this is the culmination of the Rey, the Reylo, interaction about the origin of Rey, where we get more details about, and this is why I don't understand how Kylo Ren knows that Palpatine, wanted to kill her back in the day and sent Ochi. Like, how does he know all that stuff?
The Emperor told him, didn't he?
Yeah.
The only interaction they had
I think
was
that's what he
said,
tells Rey earlier in the scene. He's like, "Oh, the Emperor showed me everything."
Okay. So.
And he's like, I think because Pete mentioned this in a previous episode this week of like, he's getting information from a bunch of disparate sources and maybe is jumping to conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Palpatine's definitely been like, so one time I made it with a lady and I had a son and my son was like, I don't even like you. You're so evil.
Well, I hate to do this to
guy
Pete.
to go catch him.
I hate to do this to Pete, but the Wikipedia does more or less corroborate this Kylo Ren story about them hiding her and not being drunks and all that stuff like that. So
right. I mean, if Wikipedia existed in 1978, it would be like, yeah, the Anakin Skywalker, a totally different dude than Darth Vader, was Luke's father.
Right. Well, regardless, though, but since then, stuff has come out to contradict that. Unlike this storyline, which so far they have not retconned it and said, oh, you know what? Maybe they will. Maybe in the Rey.
Give them time, buddy.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
everything eventually gets papered over.
Let me just let me just email Timothy Zahn, whose email address I definitely have.
Sure.
So here's the sequence of events according to the Wikipedia.
Okay.
12 BBY.
Big booty year.
Palpatine makes a clone of himself. And the clone was not force sensitive. So like he tried making several clones. None of them were like viable or whatever. He comes out with this one.
This is exactly like Orphan Black Man.
Yeah. It's like
our crossover.
Tatiana.
So Palpatine is like, they call him like, they basically look down on him. They call him the Abomination because he's not he has no force powers. But Palpatine wants to keep him around because he's like, eventually he might have a baby and that baby might be force sensitive. And so eventually that's what happens.
Because it skips a generation in clones?
I don't know. It's,
What?
And
I mean, I could buy that in a sense of like, if you're creating it in a not to get too deep about the nature of life, but if you're creating it in a lab,
that's why we're here.
Then you wouldn't be able to replicate the activation of the Force ability wouldn't be able to be replicated in the lab. But then that creation spawned a new generation via the traditional, more biological methods. Yeah. Then that it would kind of reactivate. It's like, oh, you didn't get that activation because you did it wrong. But then once that creation goes on to do its own thing, and that can reproduce and then activate the Force abilities.
It's like the difference between practical effects and CGI.
In a sense,
ish. It's a little bit of a reach. I just like to talk about practical effects.
Sure.
Yeah. Well, I also wonder, and this is definitely getting way deeper than it deserves. Like, it's not about us not wanting to get deep, but it's just like, okay, so then is the implication, and I know they kind of talk about this obviously like with the clone army, but it's like, okay, so if you create a clone and the clone is not force sensitive, does that say something about its like soul? And like, do you have to have a soul to be force sensitive? It really opens up more questions than it answers, honestly, Alex.
Well, it would also explain why droids can't. use the Force, theoretically, although I'm sure that'll come down eventually, too.
Well, microscopic organisms that can combine and conspire to give you a soul. And if you don't have enough of them, then you're...
Oh, right.
Right.
The way I have completely wiped midichlorians from my brain. I'm like, the what?
You're like C-3PO.
Yeah, there you go. It's your first podcast.
So anyway, by the way, Palpatine's
saying hello to my friends.
Palpatine's clone is named Dathan, like Nathan, but with a D.
Right.
Right.
Which is also the name of Edward G. Robinson's character in the Charlton Heston 10 Commandments.
Is it really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh,
his name's Dathan.
Oh, I guess this was intentional. Kind of.
It might have been. Look. They gotta generate a lot of names for this thing. So whether it is connected or not.
Edward G. Robinson is the Pharaoh in... No, Yul Brynner was the Pharaoh.
No.
Right?
He is, oh my gosh. Ooh, if I get this wrong, my parents are going to be like, we watch that movie every year. So he is, I believe, he is an Israelite who has moved up the ranks of the Egyptian power structure, who is now kind of like overseeing the slave labor. And he sells out, I think he sells Moses out. Like he's involved in a bunch of clandestine stuff, and he goes to the Pharaoh and he's like, listen, I got intel that Moses, who everybody loves, is actually not Egyptian. So now that I'm giving you this information, you have to give me a big house. You have to give me this chick, all these things. And then when Moses frees everybody, he gets sent out with them as well. Yeah. Anyway, that is Edward G. Robinson in the 10 Commandments, a thing I bet nobody thought would come up today.
So there's no connection.
It's true. He is, also like in the novelization of the 10 Commandments called the Bible. He was also in that, also by Ray Carson, weirdly. But he was also in the 1923 silent film version of the same story. And he was played by Lawson Butt. So just wanted to throw that in there.
B-U-T-T?
Lawson Butt, B-U-T-T, yep.
Okay.
So Dathan meets this woman, Miramir, and they have now suddenly Palpatine, now they have an offspring. Palpatine's like, oh, now he'll take great interest. And so Dathan and Miramir are like, we gotta get out of here. We don't want our kid being raised by an evil space wizard. So they
hang on, is it the real Palpatine who's taking an interest, or the Dathan Palpatine
the real
who's
Palpatine
taking an interest?
So apparently, after he died, they brought him back as a clone, but it wasn't like he couldn't do very much. I don't know if it's the same clone that we see at the beginning of the movie.
But where is he? Where is Shiv Prime?
I guess they're all on Exegol, the Sith planet.
Yeah, with their capacious fleet.
I do want to add that the character in the 10 Commandments that Dathan is shown, at least in the 20s version, that is shown being obsessed with is Miriam. So maybe didn't you say?
No, I was going to say he's in the 50s version. The girl that he's into is named Lilia, and she is in love with Joshua of the Battle of Jericho fame. That's in the future, the sequel to the 10 Commandments.
Sure.
It's a kind of
the 11th
Commandments. I'm joking. I'm so sorry, everyone who is religious. Yeah. So yeah, and also like Miramar is very like Miriam adjacent. They were just like, we're just gonna remix everything from the 10 Commandments, and nobody's gonna know.
So they flee Exegol posing as junk dealers. The Emperor sends Ochi out to find them. 21 ABY, Ochi tracks them down and kills them. Weirdly, their bodies are found by Lando and R2-D2. What a random people to find Rey's parents and then bury them on whatever planet they were found.
Bodies are found by Shuffle's Bag, Snaggletooth, and General Reikian. I don't know.
Let's say Mo.
Yeah.
Conehead?
So anyway, that according to the Wikipedia, that is the official timeline of what really happened with Rey's parentage. So, caveat emptor.
It is interesting. So they were posing as junk dealers.
Mm-hmm.
Is that why she became a scavenger? Am I just like blanking on this?
And they sold her to
Uncle Pluck. Yeah.
Uncle Pluck to be because
Plunkle.
he needs I guess that was far enough away and far enough removed from the core of the galaxy and also
but they were saying like they were posing as junk dealers.
Yes.
And then what was I can't even say what was Uncle Pluck's job?
Uncle Pluck was
he's a junk dealer.
Was he?
He's a junk.
Was he played by John Candy? What is this?
He was played by Simon Pegg, right?
Yeah, the John Candy of our day.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So that's okay. So her being a scavenger does not really have anything to do with her parents.
That's just
She wasn't like I'm going to carry on their scavenging junk-oriented legacy.
Carry on. I get it.
Oh God. Well, it's been fun, guys. I gotta go.
I think it's funny that Rey is like, why would Palpatine kill a child? And you're like, obviously you're new to this whole thing, right?
No, my note was, babe, please watch Revenge of the Sith and get back to me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why? Also, again, you're in a war where many children have been deployed as soldiers and have been killed.
They blow up entire planets. Like, I don't think killing one girl.
But I guess it lends some credence to, like, does she know who Darth Vader is? Does she not actually know who Palpatine is? She's just like, oh, you guys just kept saying their names, but I was just kind of, like, going along with it.
Right. Oh, that's real, huh? Oh, all right.
It does make me wonder how common the knowledge is that Anakin butchered a room full of children, presumably several rooms full of children. Like, do Luke and Leia know that? Did they watch the security footage? So anyway,
because he definitely, I mean, he killed the women and the children too back on Tatooine.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I mean, given how tight-lipped Obi-Wan was with any information, I doubt that he told them much more than that.
I know there's a lot of people who still ship Annie and Padme, like, oh, what if he had never turned evil, and all these warm things of the Mr. and Mrs. Skywalker raising the two twins, and it's so lovely. But I mentioned,
are you talking specifically about Silver Days Tinies on Instagram?
I don't know.
There's an artist on Instagram named Silver Day who does these like little cartoons of like Anakin and Padme and the kids, and like they're cute. But of course, I'm like, he was a sociopath before that, so let's maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. When they get around, when the family would tell stories and stuff, does Padme be like, oh my gosh, when we first met on Tatooine, he killed a whole tribe of sand people. It was so nuts. I'm like, tell us
and
again.
And the kids are like, Mom, you can't say that anymore. It's native Tatooiners. Come on.
I was there. I can call them what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also have to say, like, somebody, once again, showing my age on Twitter, somebody was tweeting like, okay, they could just keep bringing Emperor Palpatine back over and over and over again. Mm-hmm. Now do Padme. If they did Padme, I'd be like, everything's forgiven. I'll watch all of this crap that you're pumping out. Give me a Padme series. I don't care if it's... Okay, two things. I want a Padme and Handmaiden series based specifically on the E.K. Johnston books, which are fantastic. Mm-hmm. I don't have her email, but I would like it. And then would also love... Oh, actually, she cheated death and she's just like been hanging out, like doing nice stuff for people. And then somehow gets pulled back into all this BS. Anyway, Disney, make it so.
They have the perfect excuse because they already established that she has several handmaidens who most people cannot tell which one is her and which one is.
Exactly.
So it's totally right there in front of them. And Natalie Portman, I've been hearing rumors that she might be coming back to the... I don't know if this is just people wishful thinking, but it's, we're in the middle of the...
Listen, she's I think she's getting a divorce. So. She's gotta make sure she's got money for that palimony.
Yeah.
Oh.
Is it palimony? Alimony?
I think palimony is like common law alimony, right?
Isn't it? Yeah.
The Palimony Express.
if they did the series you want to do, would
Neither
they
rain nor snow nor sleet nor hail?
Yeah.
Can Natalie Portman still play young Padme? Can she still play pre-Revenge of the Sith?
Absolutely. Definitely. A, she's aged really, really well, in my opinion, and I'm very shallow. B, they have de-aging, and I feel like they mostly use de-aging on men, right? Like, you've got like all these craggy dudes like De Niro and Harrison Ford. But I feel like Natalie Portman needs very little de-aging to kind of get her back in, prequel. Prequel looks phase.
20 years worth of
visage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that old war.
Right. What if she came back as slightly older, like Sabe or something like that? She was one of the handmaidens.
Oh, yeah. Look, I don't care. Bring them all back. Bring one of them back. Don't care. Want them. Want it. I will buy advance tickets. I'll get all my friends. I won't shut up about it.
Oh,
from the moment that it's announced until the moment it comes out.
We could do a Scarlet Spider kind of clone saga situation where it's like we find out that the whole time that she was pregnant and everything, it was one of the handmaidens. But the real Padme split off way before that. So it wasn't just like a later, it was like the whole relationship with Anakin was actually with one of the handmaidens.
It does get a little tricky. Because the E.K. Johnston books are canon, not legends. They could probably be relegated to legends because we can just do that anytime we feel like it.
Yeah.
No, but it's great too because Sabe is canonically bi or pansexual. Two of the handmaidens, I forget which ones, are in a romantic relationship together. It's just really great. It's really great. There's no downside here, Disney.
All for it.
Really stick it to Ron DeSantis.
Rhonda who?
Help me, Rhonda.
So, my last note is about the force field.
Okay. Force field is what gives a Jedi his power.
Well, I think it's, they kind of, she's like standing with her back against the force field and there's like wind coming in. And the wind definitely adds a sense of like, wow, this is a really high distance up, but it doesn't make any sense for wind to be going through a force field. But, the rules.
It's one of those porous force fields, for breathable air.
And sound clearly works very different in the Star Wars universe. It can travel through space, so maybe sound can also go through force fields. Who am I to say?
Yeah.
All right, well, if we don't have anything else to say about minute 65, we can wrap this up. Kelly, unless you have anything else you want to say about the movie generally. Any other characters you
overall,
like, dislike?
I really appreciate Rey just plowing through her own burnout to try to save the galaxy. Like, she clearly just needs a nap, and they just won't let her. She's so tired. I was just like, I really relate to you. I've never related to you more than in this movie.
Or snapping.
And then... the Endor system has a way more diverse ecological profile than I would have expected. I had forgotten that they were in the Endor system there with all of the big waves and stuff. I was like, oh my God, it's not just like a fun treehouse for these like homicidal little teddy bears. That's so fun. And I think the biggest takeaway from me, and we'll see if this achieves rant status or not, is that I think what works less well for me mostly in this movie, kind of in this this triad of films, is the parts of Star Wars in general that I relate to the least are the ones that are about like the parent-child relationship. So like going back to my fave, Return of the Jedi, like all of this stuff when Luke leaves once he's gone back to Dagobah and he like goes back to be like, oh, I have to like confront my father. I'm like, you just became like a giant weenie, Luke. You are no fun to hang out with. You're just like, why doesn't my dad like me? That has never been the most compelling part of it to me. Like the shock of finding out that Vader is his dad is like, what? But that revelation serves to kind of push him back to his chosen family versus seeking this stuff that he really can never get from his biological family. And like as a queer person, I find that resonates more. And I think particularly with the turn that this trilogy takes with Rey being a Palpatine, I'm like, that's not interesting to me. I find it so much more interesting if she isn't a Palpatine. So I'm still very pro Pete's pet theory here that this is actually not reliable information we're being given. Mm-hmm. So then for her to choose to be a Skywalker, not in opposition to the dark side, not in opposition to her own bloodline, I think is a much more powerful choice. And I think it is much more reflective of modern social norms. Like whether that queerness is part of that or not, it says something different and more interesting than, oh, okay, I can only align myself in relation to or in opposition to my family of birth. And again, so many missed opportunities with that, as we talked about with Finn, and like, what is Finn's legacy as a stormtrooper who's walked away? We know, I think from the comics, but like Poe's family were like old school rebellion resistance people. So,
yeah.
What does it mean? He was off running spice and then he comes back to this thing. Like, that is more interesting to me than, oh my God, Palpatine's back. Yeah, and just, gosh, too many new characters in this film. So many new characters. It feels so. I think Alex Reed, when you mentioned like, there should have been like an episode 9 and then an episode 10, like kind of an epilogue, kind of like tying some of this stuff up. I think you can feel the rush in this one, where I think the arc of the stories and the arc of the stories, as well as the pacing of the first two, feels much more natural. This just really felt like everybody was like, oh my God, like we're up against a deadline. We got to get this thing out.
I told 3 of my friends they could be in a Star Wars. Can we get these guys in here?
No, exactly. And I appreciate that. Like, I'm a fan. Mm-hmm. I would have that impulse if anybody said, oh, hey, Kelly, would you like to work as a writer on this Padme Amidala series? I say, of course, absolutely. Let me bring all my little friends. But they wouldn't let me bring my little friends because I'm not J.J. Abrams. They'd be like, we don't care about your little friends. You're only here because your last name's Anakin, and we thought that was cool. Yeah, so it's just like, okay, like, I think it's just like the creators are too close to the source material to make it a good movie in this case. And because again, like going back and watching, I'm like, oh, I see why I did not come back to this one. It just did not do a whole lot for me. But I do always love revisiting all of this stuff and talking about it with you guys. So thanks for letting me have my little rants. Thank you for letting me continue narrative economy by wearing the same clothes day after day after day. Still haven't done the laundry.
It'll happen.
I have foreseen it.
Well, thank you for joining us this week. We're always glad to have you back. Any last minute, any things you want to plug? Any other?
Just keep an eye on my Patreon. I think I'm going to like do stuff there or something. I don't know.
Exciting.
Trying to like get in touch with my creative side, not just my snarky, ranty side.
I heard you might also be taking it easy in 2020.
Oh, you know what? I'm not doing anything. I'm not telling anybody my plans. We saw what happened last time.
All right. Well, I just want to remind everyone, if you're listening to this, we also are on the YouTube. Please like and subscribe, even if you don't watch, because it helps us algorithmically the more subscribers we have. So do that. And if you're watching the YouTube, we also have a podcast format. You can just listen to it in your ears without having to look at our lovely, lovely faces. So look for those 2 venues to hear us talk, and hear us talk some more on Monday with another brand new Star Wars Minute.
Star Wars Minute.